This isn't just a story about my wife cheating. It's about what happened when her search for something more led her straight into something much darker, something criminal. It was supposed to be a quiet night. My sister Kate stopped by after work. She's a detective here in Colorado Springs, but lately she'd been pulled into a task force dealing with a string of hotel thefts. Well-organized, clean, no forced entry, high-value items gone without a trace. She came in with her usual energy, tossed a flash drive onto my desk, and said, "Think you can get this video open? Tech upstairs says it's corrupted, but I don't buy it." I gave her a tired smile. "You just want me to do your job." Kate shrugged. "I want you to do it better." I plugged the flash drive into my workstation and let the decryption script run. 30 seconds later, the screen flickered to life. Low-res footage appeared, black and white, timestamp 3 weeks ago. "Midtown Inn," Kate said, leaning over my shoulder. "Presidential suite hallway. Suspect enters at 10:40 p.m., alone. We think he's using women to help gain access to rooms." I leaned in as the hallway appeared. A man stepped into frame. Tall, clean-cut, late 30s maybe. Gym bag over one shoulder. He turned, knocked lightly. After a moment, the door opened, and I felt something shift in my chest. A woman stepped out. Shoulder-length brown hair, light jacket, small purse. She looked at the man and smiled. It was Laura, my wife. I froze. My eyes locked on the screen. The camera didn't show faces clearly, but I didn't need it to. I knew her posture, her movements. I'd watched her brush that same strand of hair behind her ear 1,000 times. I knew the curve of her smile. She stepped into the hallway and walked beside him. Their shoulders touched. He leaned in slightly. She looked up at him like he was her whole world. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. Kate kept talking, but her voice was background noise now. "Mike? You good?" I blinked. "Yeah. Sorry, system lagged. Want me to clean this up and isolate the frames?" "Exactly. Just give me anything usable for facial ID. This guy might be our key suspect." I nodded. "You'll have it tomorrow." She clapped my shoulder. "You're a lifesaver." Then she grabbed her coat and left. I sat there long after the door clicked shut. I replayed the clip again, slower this time. Laura stepping out. Laura smiling. Laura leaving with another man like it was nothing. Like her life meant nothing. When I finally stood up, my legs were stiff. I walked into the kitchen. Laura was upstairs, watching a baking competition show, probably sipping wine and texting someone she called a colleague. I stared at the refrigerator door. A birthday card from our daughter. A photo from last year's cabin trip. A magnet shaped like a cat she picked up on some business conference. I used to believe in that version of us. That we were solid. 18 years together. 2 kids in college. Mortgage nearly paid off. We had routines, traditions, and side jokes. Now I realized I was the only one still living in that world. I didn't confront her. Not yet. That would give her time to twist it, cry, deflect. I'd seen it before. People trying to turn evidence into emotion, drown facts and feelings. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I opened my secure drive, created a new folder, and labeled it plainly, Laura Archive. Inside, I saved the video clip. Then I backed it up to 2 external drives and 1 cloud location. Not paranoia. Just smart. Later that night, when Laura came down to say goodnight, I looked at her closely. She wore that same soft hoodie, the one I gave her last Christmas. Her hair was damp from the shower. Her eyes met mine like nothing had changed. "Long day?" she asked, smiling. "Yeah," I said. "Just helping Kate with some footage." She nodded, uninterested. "I'm heading to bed. You staying up?" "For a bit," I said. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. Like we weren't seconds away from a reckoning she didn't see coming. As she walked away, I watched her disappear up the stairs. And I knew, right then and there, that I wasn't just living with a liar. I was living with someone I didn't recognize. And I intended to find out exactly who she was. The next morning, I watched Laura move through the kitchen like she had nothing to hide. She poured her usual coffee, half decaf, splash of almond milk, and hummed softly while scrolling through her phone. Same rhythm, same routine. But it wasn't the same anymore. Now I was watching. Not as a husband. As a man who knew. She looked up and smiled like always. "You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Too much screen time again?" Something like that. She walked over, leaned down, kissed my cheek. I didn't flinch, didn't pull away. Not yet. That would tip my hand. Instead, I sipped my own coffee and asked, "You still going to Denver this weekend?" She nodded. "Regional training. Same hotel as last month, Midtown." Of course it was. Thought you didn't like that place, I said casually. She shrugged. They booked it, not me. Honestly, I'd rather stay home. She said it so easily, like the last time she walked out that door wasn't to meet some guy she'd kissed in a hotel hallway. I watched her head upstairs to change and leave for work. Then I got to work myself. When you spend 20 years securing systems, managing networks, recovering deleted files, and wiping traces others think are gone, you learn one key truth. Nothing digital ever really disappears. I'd already mirrored her phone's Wi-Fi data from our router logs, but now I dug deeper. She'd use Signal for texting, a good choice if you don't want your messages stored anywhere. But she didn't know her old iPad was still logged into the same Apple ID. And iCloud? It doesn't just store messages. It keeps calendar entries, location data, app logs, and photo metadata. All I had to do was dig. Quietly. Within an hour, I had access to her synced calendar. A few entries stood out, mostly work-related. But every couple of weeks, a mysterious strategy session popped up with a 3-letter code, RC. Each one fell on a weekend. Always out of town. Always at a hotel. RC. Ryan Cole. The name hadn't appeared yet in any messages. But her photo roll gave me more than I expected. Buried in her camera uploads were several cropped or filtered images, hotel lobbies, restaurant dishes, city views. No people. At least, not visibly. But metadata doesn't lie. I pulled timestamps and geolocation markers. I had 4 exact matches with known theft reports. Kate's department was already working. 1 in Santa Fe, 1 in Salt Lake, 2 here in Colorado. And in every one, Laura was there. Not officially. Not on the books. But she was there. I opened the photos. Looked closer. One had a reflection in a wine glass, barely visible. A man's jawline. Stubble. Slim black watch on the left wrist. Then I opened the surveillance footage again and froze the frame. Same man. Same watch. Ryan Cole. I backed away from the monitor. This wasn't just infidelity. It was partnership. She wasn't sneaking around to have fun. She was part of something organized. Whether she understood the full picture or not didn't matter. She was complicit. That night, Laura came home late. She said the traffic was awful and her team meeting ran long. She looked tired, hair tied back, shoes in hand. I was sitting at the kitchen counter, pretending to read the news. She kissed my cheek. Sorry I'm late. No worries, I said, closing the laptop. We all have long days. She smiled. You're sweet. What would I do without you? I smiled back. You'll never have to find out. She didn't catch the edge in my voice. Or if she did, she ignored it. Later, as she got ready for bed, I walked into the office and pulled up the file I was building. Folder, Laura Archive. Subfolders for images, calendar logs, cross-referenced police reports. Her face stared back at me from the hallway cam footage, fuzzy but clear enough. That wasn't the woman I married. That wasn't someone who lost her way. That was someone who'd built another life behind mine. And if she thought she could keep both, she was about to find out how wrong she was. RC82. It didn't look like much, just a username attached to a Signal account Laura had messaged a dozen times in the last 2 months. She'd been smart about it, or at least she thought she had. No full name, no profile picture, no synced contacts. But when she used the hotel Wi-Fi last time, her phone leaked a trace through a DNS call. One of my tools had flagged the connection. Signal access routed through a burner SIM, linked to an encrypted Google account using that handle, RC82. I knew what the RC stood for. I'd heard her say his name once, months ago, when she thought I wasn't listening. Ryan from the Denver office, she'd called him. Supposedly just another project manager. Now I had a digital fingerprint tying him to her hotel weekends, to at least 4 known theft locations, and to her calendar entries coded with his initials. I didn't have a face yet, but I had a pattern. And patterns, in my world, always lead somewhere. I dug deeper. The email tied to RC82 was created just 6 months ago. No social media links. No Google Maps history. But someone had used it to sign up for a delivery service in Santa Fe, and the confirmation email had been forwarded to another account, this one much older, cole.ryan87@protonmail.com. There it was. I had a name. A real one. Ryan Cole. I plugged it into a few private law enforcement databases I still had access to through tools I built for Kate years ago. Not illegal, just unofficial. She had no idea I still had them, and I wasn't about to ask for permission. Ryan Cole, 37, former security consultant. Fired from 2 firms for breach of protocol. No convictions, but a handful of sealed reports. One involved a female coworker who suddenly left her job. No details. Another involved a client privacy concern swept under a corporate rug. Charming, clean-cut, no trace of violence. A man who knew how to operate in the margins, who knew how to recruit, who knew how to vanish. And he'd picked Laura, the woman I'd built my life with, the woman I'd held through surgeries and funerals and hard years, the woman who now shared cheap hotel beds with a thief while pretending to attend strategy seminars. I don't know what made me angrier, that she cheated or that she sold herself this short. That evening, she told me she was headed to Denver again. Same hotel, she said. Midtown, Friday through Sunday. I'll be back before dinner. She smiled. I smiled back. Have a safe trip, I said. Let me know if you need anything. She kissed me lightly, already scrolling through her phone as she walked out of the room. I went back to my desk and opened my Laura archive. I copied all the files onto a secure USB. Then I duplicated the archive to an encrypted drive and created a backup folder labeled for Kate, private, not for revenge, for facts, because I knew what was coming. The Midtown Inn was already under surveillance. Kate's team was close to securing a warrant for entry and arrest. But what they didn't have, yet, was identifiable proof linking one of the accomplices to the suspect list. That's what I had. Laura wasn't just cheating. She was participating. If I gave that info directly to Kate, it would cross a line. But if it arrived anonymously? If someone left a package in her office mailbox with time-stamped photos, geolocation data, and matching profiles? She'd follow it. They'd all follow it. And Laura? She'd be caught in the act. At 11:43 p.m., I received a message on the mirrored phone app from Ryan's number. Rooms booked. Same setup. Friday night. You bring the smile, I'll bring the exit plan. My jaw tightened. So it was a job. Another one. Another exit plan for someone's watch, wallet, jewelry. And she was still in. Still smiling. Still lying. That night, she came to bed late, smelling like wine and lotion. She slid under the blanket, curled next to me, placed her hand on my chest like she used to. I didn't move. She whispered, "Thanks for being so understanding lately. I know work stuff's been weird." I said nothing, just stared at the ceiling. Because understanding? That wasn't what I was feeling anymore. I was past that now. I was ready. Patterns are everywhere. In my line of work, recognizing them is half the job. A server hiccups at the same time every night. Could be backup traffic. A database runs slow only on Wednesdays. Probably someone batching reports they shouldn't. Patterns point you to causes. Now, I was applying that same logic to my wife. Laura wasn't just having an affair. She wasn't even just tagging along for fun. She and Ryan had a rhythm. Carefully spaced weekends, always different cities, always high-end hotels. Every trip was timed perfectly around low occupancy periods and business conferences. Busy lobbies, lax front desks, lots of distractions. And in each location, a guest left missing something valuable. The reports weren't always filed right away. People with expensive watches and private meetings don't like attention. But the thefts were real, and the timeline matched her travel down to the hour. Salt Lake City, Santa Fe, Denver, then back to Colorado Springs. Each time, Laura's calendar was marked with a vague regional workshop or client strategy retreat. Each time, her texts to Ryan, RC82, showed the same tone. Joking, familiar, calculated. They were partners, not in love, in theft. By Friday morning, I had everything I needed. I printed the photos, Laura entering the suite, the reflection of Ryan's face in a wine glass, side-by-side image comparisons with the suspect in Kate's footage. I added timestamps, GPS metadata from her synced photos, copies of room confirmations, and a network log from her last stay. Every piece built the case. I printed it all, bound it in a slim manila folder, and labeled the front with 3 words. Midtown Inn, room 512. Then I drove to Kate's precinct, parked across the street, and waited until the front lobby cleared. When the receptionist stepped away, I walked in, calm and quiet, and slipped the envelope into the department mailbox marked Detective K. Benson. No one saw me. By the time I got home, Laura was finishing her packing. "Think I'll be back late Sunday night," she said, zipping her carry-on. "Might stop and see a friend in Boulder if I finish early." I nodded. "Safe drive." She smiled. "Thanks for being so cool about all this." I smiled back. "You know me. Always steady." She kissed me goodbye. Just like always. No guilt in her eyes. No tension in her voice. She perfected it. She left at 9:12 a.m. At 9:17, I received an auto-reply from Kate's department. Thank you. This has been received and logged. That was enough. I didn't need to know the details. I didn't need to see the arrest. What I needed was for someone else to step in. Someone with the badge. The authority. The power to make it stick. Because if Laura was going to fall, it wouldn't be because I yelled. It would be because the facts spoke louder than any argument. At 10:03 a.m., Kate called me. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hey, I said. You didn't tell me you were coming by. What do you mean? She paused. That envelope you left. I didn't leave anything. Mike. What was in it? Another pause. Let's just say, it fills in every gap we couldn't close. Surveillance footage is one thing. But matching it to location logs, photos, personal ID, that changes everything. My heart beat steady. You going to Midtown? We're already there. DA signed off this morning. You should stay out of it. I am. Good. And Mike? Yeah. Her voice dropped. I hope this doesn't tear you apart. It won't, I said. It already did. A long time ago. She was quiet for a beat. Then, we'll talk later. Click. I sat down at my desk, stared at the blank desktop screen. No Laura archive open this time. No digging, no watching, no compiling. Just silence. I thought I'd feel something. Nervous, relieved, maybe even sad. But I didn't. All I felt was the same thing I'd felt for weeks now. Prepared. Laura wasn't just cheating. She was part of something criminal. And by the end of this weekend, she'd no longer be able to hide behind strategy retreats and fake smiles. Because this time, the pattern led to her. And the consequences were catching up fast. It came just after lunch. I was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through a backlog of system logs for a client in Dallas. My mind wasn't in it. I kept glancing at the clock, checking the weather in Denver, refreshing a local news site I'd bookmarked. Then my phone rang. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer. Then I remembered. Kate sometimes called from department lines that don't show up. I picked up. Mike Benson. There was a pause. Then, she's in custody. No hello. No soft landing. Just the words I knew were coming. I swallowed. You sure? Kate's voice was flat. Business. We caught them at the Midtown. Room 512, just like your packet said. Surveillance team watched them check in together. He left the room 10 minutes later with a different shirt, carrying a small laptop bag. She was still inside, repacking. Stolen goods. Client upstairs reported a missing watch and cash. Room service tray matched timeline. We got probable cause, moved in. She didn't resist. Of course she didn't. She probably thought it was all some mistake. Maybe Ryan promised her they were untouchable. Maybe she truly believed no one was watching. She say anything? I asked. Kate exhaled. First she played dumb. Then she said she didn't know what he was doing. That she was just meeting a colleague. Standard denial. And Ryan ran when he saw uniforms. Made it halfway to the parking garage before the tech team tracked him on camera. We've got him on theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Prior record just surfaced. It's not his first time. I leaned back in the chair, staring out the window. The lawn hadn't been cut in a week. The leaves were starting to change. She's still down there? I asked. For now. We'll probably release her by tomorrow pending arraignment. It's early. First offense, no prior record. He's taking the bigger hit. But Mike? Yeah. She's not just a witness. The evidence you gave us, it puts her inside. She's part of it. I knew that already. I just needed to hear someone else say it. She asked if someone set her up. Kate continued. Said it felt like a trap. It wasn't a trap, I said quietly. It was the truth catching up. Another pause. Kate's tone softened. You okay? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I'm not angry. I'm not broken. I'm just tired of pretending. Kate didn't push further. She knew me too well. Instead, she said, if the DA moves forward, she'll be formally charged. Might get a deal. Community service, probation, a fine. He's going down harder. We're still combing through his alias history. Looks like he's run this play with other women too. I closed my laptop and pushed it aside. What happens next? For her? Kate asked. She'll be processed, released on her own recognizance. Her face probably won't hit the news, but this won't stay private. Her employer's gonna find out. The record stays sealed for now, but not forever. And for you. She sighed. Conflict of interest means I'm off the case now. Officially. But I'll still hear things. Just not from me to you. Understood. Mike? Yeah. I'm sorry. So am I. We hung up. I sat there for a while, staring at my hands. They were steady. I expected them to shake. I thought I'd feel a rush of vindication, maybe even a twisted kind of justice. But mostly, I just felt numb. Laura wasn't home when I got there. Obviously. But her things were. The house still looked like she lived in it. Her coat on the hook. Her hairbrush in the drawer. Her favorite mug in the sink. Like she'd be back any minute. But she wouldn't walk through that door with a smile and a lie anymore. I walked upstairs to the closet. Her suitcase was gone. The one she always took on work trips. I opened the drawer where she kept her jewelry. Empty. Except for one old bracelet I gave her on our 10th anniversary. Cheap, but meaningful. She hadn't worn it in years. I left it there. Downstairs, I took the USB drive from the safe and slid it into my pocket. Not for leverage. Just for my own records. My own sanity. Because when someone builds a lie that elaborate, you start to wonder if you imagined it all. You didn't. I didn't. The mask was off now. And all that was left was what came after. Laura was released the next day. No cuffs, no headlines, no mugshot on the evening news. Just a quiet exit through the back of the courthouse and a thin folder of paperwork in her hand. The kind of soft landing only first-time offenders get when they play that I didn't know card well enough. But I knew the truth. And deep down, I think she knew I knew it too. I didn't go to the courthouse. I didn't answer her texts. I didn't even pretend to care where she'd gone after they let her out. She didn't come home that night, or the night after. Probably stayed with a friend or a coworker who didn't know what she'd really been doing on those business trips. Or worse, knew and helped her cover it. The silence was louder than any fight we ever had. By Monday, her name was circulating through back channels, quiet emails, whispered warnings. HR departments talk, even when they're not supposed to. She hadn't been fired outright, but she'd been asked to take administrative leave pending internal review. That's corporate speak for start looking elsewhere. Kate stopped by that evening, not as a cop, just as my sister. She brought a pizza, 2 beers, and that look she gives me when she doesn't want to talk shop but knows she probably should. You doing okay? She asked, settling into the chair across from me. I'm here. You've got a pretty good poker face, she said. Yeah, I replied. I've had time to practice. We ate in silence for a few minutes before she spoke again. She'll probably get probation. Maybe community service. A fine. I nodded. That's what I figured. She's not the worst person we've caught, Kate said. But she's not innocent, Mike. You didn't imagine it. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen. The house was too quiet. No footsteps upstairs. No sounds of a blow dryer humming through the bathroom door. No wine glass clinking on the counter behind me. Just quiet. Later that night, I heard the garage door open. I didn't move. I heard her footsteps coming through the laundry room. She hesitated in the hallway. Then the soft thump of her purse landing on the table. A beat. Then her voice. Mike? I stayed where I was, in the living room, lights off, sitting in the same chair where I first watched the surveillance footage that shattered everything. She stepped into the doorway, slowly. Her eyes were puffy, her skin pale. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair looked like she hadn't touched it in a day. I just wanted to talk, she said. I nodded toward the chair across from me. She sat. We stared at each other in the dark. No small talk. No fake apologies. Just silence. For a moment, I thought she might cry. Instead, she whispered, I didn't mean for any of it to happen. That's what she opened with. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I lied to you. Just that she didn't mean for it to happen. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized that even now, even with a criminal charge hanging over her head, she was still trying to frame herself as the victim. Why? I asked. She swallowed. I don't know. That's not good enough. She looked down. It was exciting. He made it feel like we were getting away with something. I didn't think we were hurting anyone. You didn't think, I said. But you were. You did. I never wanted to lose you, she said quietly. You didn't lose me, I said. You gave me away. Every time you smiled at him. Every time you left this house lying about where you were going. You didn't lose me. You walked out. Her eyes welled up. I don't know how to fix this. You don't, I said. Because it's not yours to fix anymore. She stared at me like she didn't know what to do with those words. Where do we go from here? She asked finally. I stood up, walked to the doorway, and flicked on the hallway light. You go wherever you want. But you don't come back here. She didn't say anything at first. Just sat there in the chair, stunned, like I'd spoken in a language she didn't understand. "You're serious," she said finally. I nodded. "I've never been more serious in my life." She stood slowly, like she thought if she moved carefully enough, the moment might soften. That maybe I'd change my mind. That I'd flinch like I used to. But I didn't. I was done flinching. "You're really kicking me out?" she asked, voice brittle. "I'm not kicking you out," I said calmly. "I'm asking you to respect the one thing you didn't bother to while you were sneaking around. My boundaries." She looked away, then back at me. "I have nowhere to go." I raised an eyebrow. "You had places to go when you were with him." That hit her harder than I expected. She swallowed and crossed her arms like she was cold. "You're angry. I get that." "No," I said, and my voice didn't rise. "I'm done being angry. I'm something else now. I'm clear." She didn't like that answer. Anger she could fight with. Clarity? That left her nowhere to hide. "I'll stay at Marissa's for a few days," she mumbled. "Until I figure something out." I nodded once. "Good. Let me know when you've moved the rest of your things. I'll be working from home this week." "Mike," she said, almost pleading. "We built a life together." "No," I said. "I did. You borrowed it." She winced, then grabbed her bag and walked toward the hallway. She paused near the front door, her back to me. "I never stopped loving you," she said, barely audible. I said nothing. She waited, then walked out the door. The latch clicked behind her, soft and final. I didn't move for a while, just stood in the middle of the hallway listening to the silence she left behind. It didn't feel cold anymore. It felt clean. Later that night, I began closing accounts. Our joint credit card? Canceled. Her name on the utilities? Removed. I logged into the bank and transferred my savings to a private account I'd opened months ago. I'd done it quietly, long before I had proof, when the gut feeling first took hold. I wasn't planning revenge. I was preparing for recovery. By morning, I'd called the lawyer. We'd met once already. Quiet office, no receptionist. He'd handled divorces for 2 of my colleagues and came highly recommended. I'd given him a full breakdown of the situation, including printed documentation, timelines, even the court documents from Laura's arrest. He didn't ask why I waited so long. He just nodded and started drawing up paperwork. By Thursday, the papers were ready. Laura hadn't responded to any of my texts. I didn't chase her. She showed up Friday morning to get a few more things. I handed her a sealed envelope. She stared at it. "What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said. "Uncontested. If you sign them, you get the car, your personal accounts, and your clothes. Everything else stays with me." She blinked. "That's not fair." "You're right," I said. "It's more than fair. You committed a felony. You dragged my name into the dirt. I'm giving you a way out without dragging this through court." Her jaw tightened. "You'd really do that to me?" "No," I said. "You did this to you." She didn't open the envelope. She just stood there holding it like it might explode. "I trusted you," I said. "I really did. I gave you every piece of me. My time, my loyalty, my name. And you sold it all for hotel rooms and a partner with a fake last name. That's not it." "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't rewrite it. Just sign the papers when you're ready. Leave the keys on the counter. And go." She stood there for a long time. Then she turned, walked to the front door, and left again, this time for good. No kiss goodbye. No final word. Just footsteps fading down the front walk. I watched her go from the window, and when she turned the corner, disappearing into the street, I felt it for the first time. Peace. The reckoning didn't come with a bang. No shouting in court. No screaming matches. No wild accusations. It came with a signature. Quiet. Thin blue ink on thick white paper. Laura signed the divorce papers 3 days after I handed them to her. No contest. No apology. Just a single text that read, "I signed. You win." But it wasn't about winning. This was never a game. A week after the paperwork was filed, I got a call from Kate. She got sentenced, she said. 2 years probation. Community service. Fine $5,000. No jail time. She flipped on Ryan. Testified that he manipulated her, pressured her into helping him with the setups. Played the victim card hard. First-time offender. No priors. Judge bought it. In him. 3 years, minimum. His record caught up. Multiple states are reopening old cases now that he's in custody. I let the silence hang for a few seconds. "She's lucky," I said. Kate didn't argue. "You want to know the rest?" "Go ahead." "She's blacklisted in her industry. Her firm let her go last week. Word's getting around fast. She's applied for a few positions, but nothing's sticking. The background check doesn't help. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Thanks for telling me. I figured you'd want to know. You okay? I am now. That was the truth. I didn't feel joy at her fall. I didn't celebrate her loss. But I felt something sharper, cleaner, closure. I'd spent weeks wondering if she'd ever face consequences, if the justice system would just shrug at what she'd done because of who she was. White-collar, educated, a woman who could cry on cue and look fragile when needed. But she didn't walk away untouched. The community service was public. The fine would sting, and the probation would hang over her like a collar. I later heard through a mutual friend that she had to do cleanup shifts at a city park near our neighborhood. Trash pickup in a reflective vest, surrounded by other court-ordered workers. Someone said she looked smaller now. Not just tired, but deflated. Like the wind had finally stopped blowing through her sails. I didn't go to see it. Didn't need to. One morning, I got a letter from her attorney. She'd vacated any claim to the house. No alimony requested. She forfeited her right to any shared investments or assets. Maybe guilt. Maybe shame. Maybe she just didn't want to see me again. I was fine with all three. When I pulled into the driveway that night, I sat in the car for a while before heading inside. The porch light came on automatically. The wind moved through the trees just enough to feel like autumn had finally arrived. I walked through the house slowly. It felt different. Quieter, yes, but not hollow. Just mine. For the first time in years, I wasn't sharing space with a lie. I walked past the closet where her things used to hang. Empty. Past the bathroom counter where her lotions and hairbrush once cluttered the sink. Clean. Past the hallway photo frame where our wedding picture used to be. I'd replaced it with a snapshot from a trip I took last fall. A mountain range in Montana. Sunrise burning off the fog. I'd gone alone, just for a weekend, back when I still thought being alone was something to be afraid of. Turns out, it wasn't. It was freedom. I poured a glass of water, stood by the window, and looked out across the yard. I thought about how much time I'd spent trying to keep a life together that had already been abandoned. All the signs I missed. Or maybe refused to see. The late nights. The travel. The distance. The shift in her smile. The way she'd stopped looking me in the eyes when she said she loved me. I wasn't blind. Just loyal. Too loyal, maybe. But that man. The one who let it all slide. Who kept hoping she'd come back to the version of herself he fell in love with. He was gone now. And in his place was someone different. Not colder. Just smarter. Someone who'd seen the truth. Faced it. And lived. The fallout wasn't immediate. It never is. It comes in waves, some loud, some quiet. And the first one always hits hardest. For Laura, it came a week after sentencing. Word had spread, not just in hushed tones through corporate HR departments, but among friends, neighbors, and old colleagues. Colorado Springs wasn't exactly a small town, but circles overlap fast when shame is involved. She tried to stay invisible, changed her profile pictures to blank icons, deleted old posts, made everything private. But it was too late. Screenshots had already made their rounds. People whispered. A few asked questions outright. Some cut ties completely. A former coworker told me she showed up at an interview, and the hiring manager recognized her name from the county court report. Said the position had already been filled. It hadn't. Then came the calls to mutual friends. Laura, trying to rebuild what she could, started with the people who once saw her as polished, professional, poised. Some answered. Some didn't. And the ones who did told me the same thing. She never took full responsibility. She always said she was manipulated. Used. Said Ryan pressured her. Said the marriage was cold and she got lost. Never once said she was sorry. Never once said my name. At first, I cared. I wanted her to own what she'd done. I wanted the people around us to see the full picture. Not just the carefully edited version where she tripped and fell into the arms of a criminal. But then I stopped caring. Let them believe what they want. I had the truth. That was enough. The financial fallout came next. Her accounts were frozen during the investigation. She lost access to our shared savings months ago, long before the sentencing. She tried to withdraw from one of the emergency accounts I'd secured, but the paperwork I'd filed ensured she had no claim. The car? Still in her name, but the insurance company dropped her after the fraud investigation hit their radar. I heard she sold it. Used the money for rent and legal fees. She moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town. No washer, no dryer, no furniture except a mattress and a coffee table someone left behind. A far cry from the house we once shared. From the weekends we spent wine tasting, booking lakefront cabins, ordering sushi takeout, and falling asleep on the couch with Netflix humming in the background. Ryan never came for her. After he was sentenced, he stopped returning her messages. The same man who whispered big plans and exit strategies had vanished into a 6x8 cell, leaving her with nothing but a record and a story no one wanted to hear. She tried reaching out once. It was late, nearly midnight. I saw her name flash on the caller ID, and I just stared at it until it stopped ringing. A minute later, a voicemail came through. I didn't listen to it. I deleted it, because there was nothing she could say that would change what she did. She broke something that doesn't glue back together with apologies. She dismantled a life that took decades to build in exchange for hotel rooms and cheap thrills. The last time I saw her was outside a grocery store. I was walking to my truck with a bag of oranges and a six-pack. She was sitting in her car, window cracked, smoking a cigarette, something she used to hate. Her eyes met mine through the windshield. She looked older. Not tired, worn down. Like time had shifted forward too fast and left her scrambling to catch up. I didn't wave. Didn't nod. I just kept walking. She didn't follow. And that's when I knew. The consequences had arrived. Not just the court orders and the community service, but the deeper kind. The ones that sit heavy in your chest when you realize what you lost. And that you'll never get it back. She thought she could keep both lives. The safe one with me. And the thrilling one with him. But she ended up with neither. Just silence. And an empty apartment where love used to live.